Hey everybody, happy 4th of July. It is Saturday. I decided to come here and do this. It's the beginning of the month, so I actually wanted to see if I'll start doing a top-down analysis at the beginning of the month. We've had some interesting things going on. I do have some old charting that I would like to kind of get rid of. I kind of also just want to compare and look at things later. So I think what I'll do is start doing is just try to do a monthly top-down analysis and then do weekly. Not sure how anybody likes these, so but I do them because I want to be able to know what I'm doing when I look at the charts because my life is so busy. I want to be able to understand what's going on and know what my move is going to be. So I'm going to start down with a top-down analysis. We're going to do month, week, and then go from there. So basically, let's start with the NASDAQ. This is futures review. This is the NASDAQ review. We're going to start going in. I feel like I probably should get rid of all my lines. I would hate to because they're probably really important, but if they're that important, they'll show up again. All right, everybody. So here we go. This is the monthly. So as you can see, NASDAQ is still very bullish. We have a nice above all EMAs on the monthly chart. So we can start plotting on our charts for major support and resistance areas. We can do right here. So how I like to do my support and resistance areas is where it touches the most. I know the line will probably change as we get lower down. I know sometimes some people do change their colors and everything as such. I don't really like to because I forget by the time I'm in the middle of the trade, I forget what that line equals out, and I don't have I don't have a legend on the side of me whenever I do it. So I just look at these lines knowing that these lines, this color is my support. And when I'm doing a red trend down or a green trend up, those are my colors for going up and down. So that's basically what I do. I don't really try to change too much. Now this right here is super like out of whack for me. I would have liked to really have the trend line follow the EMAs. But anyway, so we're going to be going up. As you can see, we still are very on a bullish upwards. So if we wanted to do the most recent swing low for the month, we can look at that right there. This is about the 50% area where I drew that line. Poof! Talk about hitting it right on the mark. We can add some of these. These most likely will not be for some time until everybody comes back from starting on vacation. We are now entering the summer months, so things do tend to slow down, but I guess it's good to have these for future reference. All right, so that's what we have right now on our monthly. Let's drop down to our weekly chart. Still not too crazy, not too far off on things. That makes a lot of sense right here. This makes sense right here. We started hitting our resistance and starting coming down. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if we try to come back up and break through and go up or hit another rejection. But we had a rejection right here. So I'm wondering if we try to get up here, if we're going to have a major rejection and then come down and try to hit this line here along with this trend line. So at this area, this would be a very interesting area to see if we are going to really have a nice strong bounce up to come up or to just break it and come down. Technically, if we're doing a theory, we haven't had 3 touches on this line. We've only had 2. So 1, 2. This would make a third one, and that would be the determining factor if we're going to go bounce up, or if we don't have enough energy to or enough power to get past the support of 31,130, we would just start to sell off. And the next area of interest obviously would be at the next major support off of the monthly of 23,860. So that's the weekly. Let's take a look at the daily. Not too much needs to change, honestly, because we are just getting a better picture now. As you can see, we did a nice little bull run up. This area will start to be a little bit of consolidating, right? So we're not really knowing what's going on. Now, mind you, this is the daily, so a lot of trading has already happened inside. We start to see the EMA. We're still above our 50 EMA, above the 200 EMA, still technically bullish. All the EMAs in between are starting to get fuzzy. So that is consolidation, especially on the daily chart. So we are starting to make some lower highs, right? And this area is not so wide. So if we wanted to draw an arrow here, up, pull down, up, but we're not making too much of a higher highs and then come down. The EMAs are starting to get closer and closer. So something's about to cross and tell us some more information. I'm not changing too much on this. We can probably add mm, maybe support here. Uh, yeah, we can do that. There can be support right here. Right there. There we go. All right, and then let's go down to the 4 hour, which is what I really like to really do a lot of my charting off of. So as you can see in this 4 hour, we have major consolidation here, right? We're not really moving outside of this range. We're inside this range between the 31,000 and the 29,000. All right, so that is our range. We can add a trend line here since we're on the 4 hour. So that can help us even better when we're in the trades to let us know. We can do this, we can do that. This has more touch points. So I will put an alarm here on this line that when it's crossing down to be looking for the cells. And then I would be looking for my target of being the major support lines of 29 and then back down to 27 and 26. Now, mind you, we already did our top down analysis and we know that these are where a lot of that movement has already been at. So we can't say that that's like, oh, that's a small range. We already know it's a big range because that's why we do top down analysis to let us see the big picture versus the small picture. I'm going to throw a little resistance right here. Oops, move that back. And I like that because we had a lot of action at that line. That line is 25,675. That's the area. All right, I like this. I'm okay with this. So right now, I want to see how we do for the opening. Again, we're in the summer months, so I'm not expecting too much big power moves or anything like that. But then again, we have a lot of geoeconomic political things going on. So who knows? We can have a gap down. We did end on the 4 hour with a red candle. I do see that. And let me see what we did on the 1 hour. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if we do gap down and start selling off just because we're having some lower major from our swings than this one, than that one. And even if this popped up, I don't expect this to be taken out, but you never know. So if this does get taken out, I wouldn't be surprised if we do a quick rejection like we did a major sell off right here. This is beautiful to me. So anyway, we have this. So I would like to see maybe a slight pull up here and then pull down or even a gap down. And then I would just wait for a pullback and then continue to sell down. That's what I'm looking at as the NAS. That's the top-down analysis for the NASDAQ futures. We're going to move to the next one. We're going to do ES. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pop up to the monthly. This is July, like let's start over, right? So let's get rid of my drawings. Look at that. It's such a major, major uptrend. And this has been starting since '09. So this is strong. Strong, strong, strong. That's why they always say that S the SPY or the SPX is always going to be a good way to do investments. All right, so we can do a support right here because we hit resistance here and we see some of the areas are bumping around here. We have something around here too at the 6,500 area. Again, I like to do this because this provides major support for us to be paying attention to. Uh, Now, technically, our most recent swing low, we can do from here, or we can do it from here. So let's see what we do when we get here. We are going to do this low here and then go up for future target area. So if we do it here, we're almost reaching that one target from that swing. So I wonder if we should just plot off of here. Let's just plot off of here. So from that most recent swing for the recent resistance that we had recently, we have this target of 7,873, 8,277, and 8,080.69. So those are from that swing low. If we wanted to do another plot, let's see. But this is the monthly, so I'm not too sure how I feel about that. Let's just wait a little bit. All right, so I'm okay with that. Let's just go down. Let's drop it down, down to the weekly. So I think that's not too bad. We can add support right here. I'm sorry, resistance, and then we can do another trend line right here, from here to here, right? And then we can do a line here because that was our most recent high of 7,702. All right, so let's drop down to our daily. Tighten up. We're doing the uptrend right here. I'm going to put an alarm on here because this is the most closest trend line that would be where the price would be crossing over. I only put these alarms because it lets me know like, hey, this is something that you're most likely going to be interested in, especially if you're so busy. I actually like this line right here. That you can be looking at your time because I know life is busy. There's no need to be sitting at the chart all the time, all day long. So if you put alarms on to let you know for the move that you're waiting for, that's a good way to manage your time as well if you already did the work ahead of time. All right, not too much on the daily. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. All right, we're starting to close in on this price ranges here. All right, so we have a nice full sell down here, pull up, come down. We hit this line, resisted, came back down, hit the trend line, came back up. We came back to the same area of here and sell down, so rejection. We have small candles here, but this right here is a major candle here. So sellers are here at the 76 area, 7,600 and whatever, 3 area. So we could see a nice little, but we are not making any lower lows. So this low is still higher than this low. So I wonder if we're really trying to push through to try to take 77 again and with a possible sell-off or even try to reach this next 7,870. But this is starting to make like a nice little like triangle for me. So I would like to see price come up here, reject down and start selling off again. And the area that we're going to be looking at, this is a big area down here at 7,158. But let's see if we can find another support area around here. Oh, that doesn't look too bad. We'll put one there. 7,415 or 20 area. Also, we can do this area. around 7,280 as well. All right, so yeah, I think that looks good. We can also draw, if you're more visual, we can draw this down trend line here and then make that red. And then what we can do for that is alarm that when price crosses that line, excuse me, that we're still looking for buys. So let's see how we open. Thank goodness we have a full trading week coming in. So it would be interesting to see if we go up here, we break this trend line, but reject off of this support line. And I also like to put alarms or alerts on my lines to let me know that resistance has broken or support has been broken. I am a support and resistance trader. So these lines are very important for me. So even if I'm on like 1 hour, I'll put some lines down too to let me know like when so let's say I'm trading that day and I'm looking at the market and I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but I have an inkling that we're going to sell. I will put an alert here at 7,500 to alert me, or I will just put my set limit for the sell to catch me down on the way down because I might be busy, I might be sleeping or something, and then I just make my stop loss of what I'm willing to lose if that trade goes the wrong way. So I do that often, especially because my sleeping schedule and my schedule is a little bit off from trading. But I still get to trade even sometimes when I'm asleep. So then when I wake up, I'm like already in the trade, and most of the time it is in profit because I'm more biased after I've looked at certain things. So that's just how kind of how you can manage the trade sometimes once you feel comfortable to do that. So again, for me on this, I would be looking for a sell, bounce off this trend line, slight pullback, and come back down and come sell down to 7,416, then sell down to 72.88 and sell down to 71.60. Those are my TPs for this. This might take maybe a week or two, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to do that if we're not making any higher highs at this time. We might be looking for another pullback. All right, so the next place we're going to be looking at is our gold futures. I hate to lose all my lines here. Ah, so beautiful. I know you're like, girl, that's too much. It's too much going on. But this is me. This is the work that I put in on my charts. This is me coming to do my homework and get busy. You cannot be successful if you are not going to do the work. All right, so let's zoom this out. I'm gonna leave this one, but I really want to. I'll just put it right back because I feel like this box right here is so important, so important. So let's take this out. But we're gonna go right back and put that box in because I believe this area is so important. This area, and I stand by this, this area was when gold, right before gold, major consolidation zone of where gold zoomed off in this area. You had a lot of dojis here, a lot of indecisions here, right? So we had a lot of up and down, a lot of consolidation. And then this block took us all the way up here. This is the swinging block that made this price go all the way up to 5,680, period. We are still in the uptrend on the big scale. If we're looking at the monthly, right? I don't even see the 200. Where's the 200? I don't even see it. So this area to me is extremely important. I think I might even change the color of this box. All right, I can leave it golden. All right, so let's start throwing into some support and resistance area. This to me is also a very important support resistant area zone here, 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 here. Obviously, this is very important. So we did the swing. I did this because this would be what the target is for the next year or two. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit this zone, if we tap this and zoom back up, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be where we be aiming. So I'm going to leave those in. I am very bullish on gold just because gold to me makes sense. It's a safe haven instrument. A lot of times people are buying the actual bricks of gold to have the wealth. So the more gold you have, the higher it goes up, the more money you have. Duh. So that would be it. Okay, so let's drop down to the weekly. I'm gonna put support right here or resistance. And then this is such a crucial area. As you can tell, we are just slowly making our way down to this area here. And this is basically the classic of, all right, you might have missed this run and it came up here and we're doing a pullback. This is the pullback. I really do hope that this right here is that we really come in here deep, wick out of here and then zoom back out. And then I would be on my option play, on the stock play, I would be holding a leap for 2 years out and just let that thing go. Hopefully it will accumulate so much that I can pay off a mortgage with it. And I would be such a happy girl. I can get rid of one of these mortgages. So that would be my interest of looking for a long year leap, and I can do a video or just something on that of what I would be looking for gold and silver. I'm bullish on those areas just because they have so much future use and utility. That would be what I'm looking for. All right, so the week, I'm not changing too much on the week. The week looks okay. As you can see on the EMAs, we already know that technically gold has been selling off. I don't believe gold is done selling off, but I don't believe gold is going to go back down to the original price of like 2000 or anything like that. I just feel like we're just doing a pullback to touch this major area of consolidation before they zoomed off, come back in here and then come back up. So let's go down to the daily. It bounced right beautifully right off of that support area. I am going to leave these lines here. There's no adjustment that needs to be happening. We can add maybe support right here because we had a nice bounce off that wick off that area here. We can probably do something right here at this area at 37.80. And that will put us right back at the consolidation area. So this right here is a beautiful time. Oops, let me put some trend lines in. Let me go to the week. All right. So if we want to do some trend lines, we're gonna have to do it from all the way back here, which is 23. 23. Go big line up. Oh, almost hitting that trend line recently. You can always fan off, depending on how you like to do your trend lines. Trend lines are very subjective. So I know like Tori doesn't like the lines to cross over for price. Um, Brittany doesn't like. Brittany's like, hey, just get the as many touch points as you want. So however you feel like you want to do the trend lines, I kind of believe the price should not cross over. I do believe, but you want as many touches as possible once you get to that point. So we actually have touched this trend line here after we did our second trend line. If we wanted to do another trend line here, it would already cross. I'm not putting it back in because it's no longer valid because we already know that we're past that area and we're selling off. So I'm going to put a trend line from the top area on down, and then another trend line from this high down to this high. I'm going to change them back to red because those that for me is the sells. And then also I will put alarms on the first one, and then as it breaks through, I'll move my alarms up. So I'm going to put an alarm here for when it sells down, looking for more sells, crossing down, looking for sells. And then also, and the when it's on the large frame, they hold more validity, more weight because you're not doing a macro, you're doing I'm sorry, micro, you're doing a macro, you're doing a big picture. So they hold more weight, which is more it helps you view of where we're going the trend, the actual oversized trend. Crossing up, look for buys. All right, so let's drop down to our daily chart. I might change this gold because I feel like it's blending in with everything. Yes. We go back to this rectangle. Let's do the fill. Should I make it green for buys? Mm, I don't know. I'm an artsy kind of girl, so I know I did the purple, but pink. I don't know. I gotta figure out what color to do. All right, let me move it along. No, that's not no better. No, that's not too bad. I don't know. I'll figure it out. So anyway, golds. Oh, daily. So let's drop down to a 4 hour. And then, okay, so we have some nice movement on gold on the upside. This right here, I charted in the last video. This was a nice little area for reversal sign. We had some triple bottom. So we had a bounce off of here, came up, bounce out, came back down, bounce up, and then a bounce again, and then we kind of just move up, and the EMAs look really nice. So we can be looking at, if we're still pretty bullish, we can be looking at the next TP around the area of 4,230, as well as area around 440. 4,400. And I don't want to go too much higher because I really do still think that we are in a bearish trend on gold for it to like kind of be in this area and then sell down and hit this area. I am sticking to my thesis. I really do think that gold needs to go back to this area for it to be completely bullish. That's just me. I am if I'm when I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong, but I don't know about that. I just don't know. I don't see I just something about gold to me, it just knows that like we need to get down to a discount for everybody to really be ready to for it to go up. Because we saw where it could go, and I feel like we can go further than that. So this week coming in, I do feel like we're still kind of more on the bullish, where we're kind of coming up to this area to this trend line or the 200 EMA right here, and we can be bouncing, reject this, come back down, and start selling off again to this area of a concern of major consolidation last year, which would make it 1 year of consolidation of that area right before we blew off to the moon. So that would be where I am. I'm not really changing any lines right here. No need to do lines. Oh, we can do a line right here. Ooh, that looks perfect actually. Boom. That could be a nice target area. We'll be looking in that area right here. Yeah, I think that's good. So that's what we're looking at. I am looking for a pull up on gold to for it to sell down eventually. I'm looking, hopefully we can get to this area of interest for me. I don't know if it's area of interest for anyone else, but it's an area of interest for me. I hope we can get there within the next month or so. Alrighty. And then anything on the 1 hour? No, the 4 hour. Perfect. So this is, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I would do this trade, right? So, um, this trade for me is perfect consolidation area for me to do support and resistance area because I would take this zone and wait for it to break out of this range. So this right here would be my interest area. So that when it opened up on Sunday, I would say, oh, hey, I'm waiting for price to break this line at 4,200 and then take out the high of 42.38, right? If definitely if I'm buying. If I'm selling, I would be waiting for price to come back down. I would probably do this low here because the support was created here, and then wait for the price to break this low and then sell this back down to these lower lows here for the pullback, initial pullback. I probably would be pulling back to this area right here of 4,067 just because we've already hit this order block over here for this big green candle. This order block here is empty for it to actually do a buyback up. That would be my thought process. All right. Last but not least, we will be going on to oil. There you are. So I personally was in a buy on oil just because we have done such a major sell off meltdown on oil. Now I have been studying the chart and I do still see that we do have some gaps available on the futures chart for oil. So I do wonder if we're going to come right back down to this major range here, another area of consolidation where we might need to come down and pop down to get some buyers interested to sell back up. But a buy back up, but I know nobody wants the oil to be high because that means our car prices are high. Like nobody wants that. But we've already seen what happens. It'll sell down, consolidate for some time. There are still going to be movements to play that we can do for playing. It's just not going to be no major large moves for it. So if you're in the stock part, I still would be looking for a buy up on oil because I just think with inflation and time, we're always going to be somewhat um going up in price. The last time price was so high was 22 and that highest price was $92. So we surpassed that recently with them being like 110. I wouldn't be surprised if we go up to 120 within the next year or two. So anyway, we have some beautiful support like consolidation area. This right here, you can see, and I'll draw this for you. This here was a whole bunch of consolidation, just a bunch of range. And that was for years, right? No real big moves, no nothing, just bopping around, which makes sense because the time we didn't need it to be anything big. We didn't need to be going up and down or anything like that. There's no wars, there's nothing going on, there's no need for it to be this high. So then we had this big pop up. It's because we had the whole situation overseas. So that if you're looking at it for the time frame of looking at it, gold oil is not something that is a mover and shaker all the time. When it moves, it moves. But for the most part, I feel like it's a neutral consolidating instrument. So let me get out of here. Let's do this down. So we can do support around or resistance around this area here. And we can do support around this area here at $40. So EMAs currently we're above EMAs, even though we did a major sell down. We do resistance at 111. And all right, so let's see. Let's drop down to, because it's not too much information here. Let's drop down to the week. Starting to have some EMAs cross over. I kind of want to put support right here as well as resistance right here. Now I'm gonna drop down, but this right here, it does look like a valid gap. So, all right, so let's go ahead and go up to the daily to see what's going on with the chart. That's an interesting look, right? So we're hit the 200. We had a nice little bounce off of it, but we still do have this gap area here at where we have recent support at $58 up to 60. So I am wondering if we will do a slight pullback and then come all the way down back to this area. Not sure how low we're going to go. I'm also not sure how high we'll go either. So we can do some support here. This line here, not support, sorry. Some trend lines down. Trend line, hello. There we go. And then down again. It was tight. We got another one here. We're going to be falling right on this 200. All right, cool. So we have a gap here at the range of 57 to 60. Seems like we are coming down towards this area of gap so that all gaps will be closed. And then I know we have another gap up here. So, but this took a while to get to. This was March of 06. Oh, 26. Okay, so that wasn't too long. All right, cool. Anything else? Let's see if we have support. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Ugh, sometimes I hate when we have all those extra lines here. All right, so there's our gap. Gap is right there. This gap has been filled. This gap has been filled. This gap definitely has been filled. This one has been filled too. So there's that one. So the only gap that we still have is this one. All right, let's see if we can find some more support and resistance. This one isn't too bad. And then we can go right. I think this is good right here. Anything down here? Ooh, that makes sense. All right, cool. So I'm not crazy about this trend line, but it did price did cross over, but I'm not completely bullish on oil. What would be nice also is if we sell all the way down here to fill this gap, that we start looking for another leap on the stocks or a nice long swing buy up to this area of 82. Now it might take some time to get there because if there's no real push for oil to go up, then it's going to take forever to get back up here. But as we know, all the gaps do eventually close. So, and it has been showing that. So for me on oil, I don't know. I would still be bearish until we fill this gap. because we finally did fill that gap, the one that we had over here. So I would be bearish until we fill all gaps and then see how if we're doing any reversals or if we start doing consolidating again. Now, even if we are consolidating, please know you can still trade, but it's just not the best A1 setups for consolidations. You will have to go down to the lower time frame to be able to do that. So these are my monthly top-down analysis. This is the top-down analysis. We refresh the charts to see where we were and where we're possibly going. Just a new outlook on the charts. So I hope this wasn't a waste of your time. It was not for me, of course, because now my charts are all nice and clean now with some new lines of support and resistance, new gaps, and things to be paying attention to. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys and see you in the charts on during the week. All right, later.